In this video today, we're going to look at how we solve equations for a particular variable. Instead of coming up with a number when we solve, we're going to actually get an expression on one side. So here's an example we'll get started with here. We're going to solve for the variable a. My instructions are hidden there. Okay, solve for the equation variable a. All right, so here we go. We're going to just start moving things around. Let's see how this goes. So we want to get down to a right there. So how do we get there? Well, we got to do a couple steps first. First, we call this v naught, or v0. So we're going to subtract that from both sides. Now notice that's not the same as v, so we have to rewrite this left side as v minus v naught. Okay, equals, now of course those cancel on that side, and we're left with a times t, or at. Now we're almost there. We almost have our a solved. We have something in the way, and what's in the way is the t. So we're going to look at this equation and say, all right, well, what's happening between the a and the t? Well, we're having a times there because we have two things next to each other. So we're doing a times t. So we get rid of it by dividing by t because we want to get a by itself. So we're going to divide both sides by t. Then we're going to rewrite the equation. So those cancel, leaving a, which is what we were looking for. And on the left side, we have v minus v naught divided by t. And I'm going to circle this left side here for us so we can see this is our solution. A equals the left side here, v minus v naught divided by t. Okay, the next example I have for us is from our Khan Academy, actually. And this is a little bit trickier, but again, we're just going to follow our algebra skills here, our rules that we have worked with for a long time. Just looks a little bit different here. Now, the instructions here say solve for x, and the first thing I notice is I have an x on both sides. So the first thing I probably want to do is get my x's on one side. So let's go ahead and start with that. So we'll start up here. So I'm going to rewrite the equation. We have negative px plus r equals negative 8x minus 2. Of course, our first step is going to be to move the 8x, as we said. So we're going to add 8x to this side. And of course, if we do it on the right side, we need to add 8x. And I'm going to line it up with my x term here. Even though that has a variable next to the x, we can kind of put those together. All right, so let's rewrite this now. So we have on the left side, we have negative px plus 8x. And we still have a plus r sitting there. And then on the right side, we have a negative 2. Okay, so we're getting closer. We have our x's on the left side all together. Now notice we can't add those two terms together. So what we need to do is think about at least getting the two x's by themselves. So let's see if we can do that. So let's subtract r from both sides. So subtract r, and we'll rewrite. So we have negative px plus 8x equals negative 2 minus r. Again, you're looking at this and saying this is pretty complicated, but again, if you just follow your steps and think about it. Now the next step we're going to have to do is we almost have x by itself, but we can't combine them, so we have to introduce what we call factoring here. So we're going to actually pull an x out of these two terms here. And if we do that, we're think about backwards distributive property. What we're left with is negative p plus 8 inside there. And again, think about distributive property, backwards distributive. If I did x times negative p, I get negative px. If I do x times 8, I get 8x. So this makes sense that we can factor out an x. And on the right side, I'm just going to bring down what we had before. Okay, and our last step here is to get x by itself. And of course, this is multiplication. So we're going to divide this by negative p plus 8 and negative p plus 8. And what we have is our solution. So I'll write it over here to the left side here. So x, see the x sitting there, is equal to the right side, of course, because this cancels out. So we have negative 2 minus r over negative p plus 8. And you could simplify that to get rid of the negatives, but for now I'm just going to leave that concept right there. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.